So I want to share with you 3 poems and 3 distinctions so that we can reimagine racism. Now, before I start, I want to ask that you forgive some of the potentially offensive words that I wrote into the poetry just to expose my ignorance of the time. One of my childhood friends was Dominic. We went to school and played baseball together. Now, he was always a much better athlete than me, but if I dare say, I was a little more clever. Just in school, because I was a nerd. I graduated with more than a 4.0, but beyond all these A's on all my report cards, there was some life I just didn't know. Now, Dominic was black. As we grew older, we got into debates. The topics were deep and divisive a lot, but none more so than race. I was screaming at him into my phone one day. We might as well have been face to face. Systemic racism was in our courtroom that day, and I was passionately pleading my case. Save it with all the oppression talk, Dom. I'd have no problem at all trading places. And how dare you accuse me? You've known me too long. How can you say that I'm racist? I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I'm not racist. Am I? No, I'm not racist. I can't be racist. I got a lot of colored friends. I grew up with a lot of black people specifically, and I never called any of them, N's. One of my girlfriend's name was Tahisha, and she ain't white, so obviously I'm not a racist. I never attended any of those rallies with burning crosses and hoods covering up our faces. You'll never find a single picture of me anywhere with that hideous Nazi image, and I don't have a single slave owner, not one. I've checked in my entire family lineage. Plus, I grew up with Doyle, Maurice, Clyde. One of my best friends was named Khalid. We were schoolmates, classmates, roommates, teammates. We always helped one another in need. We'd play football on the grass for hours out in front of my swimming pool. Now, I wasn't as fast because of the muscle structure, but still, with each other, we were cool. And I played baseball with Pedro, Miguel, Raul. The Rojos were like my own brothers. Camille was from Fiji, Karosh, Persia, Charles, Asia. I never thought of them as the others. There was Phil, Ricky, rest in peace, brother, and Brett, which gives me Puerto Rico, Philippines, France. So it wasn't just blacks and browns I was cool with. I gave everyone an equal chance. So clearly I'm not a racist. Not me. Can't be. My parents raised me right. They taught me the color of skin don't matter, whether it's black, brown, yellow, or white. Obviously, I'm not a racist. I got the shirt, and I check all the not racist boxes. So then when Dominic said that I am, I learned what a righteous ego paradox is. Sean, you're right. I know you. You're not consciously racist by any means. But as much as you don't want to admit it, you were produced by a racist machine, and that racist machine benefits you more than it benefits me. You have privilege in that skin that I don't. And Sean, I'm just trying to help you see. His words stopped me cold. I couldn't breathe. I didn't even have a reply because as much as I didn't want to admit it, he spoke truth that I couldn't deny. So the first distinction I want to offer you is the difference between existence and experience. I have a friend that says, if you live in America and you deny that you're racist, that's like being in a swimming pool trying to tell people you're not wet. It doesn't matter where you are in the pool. We're all wet because the water is the system that produced, positioned, and programmed all of us. But now I never saw a problem in the water because the system never worked against me. So it's like if I were to try to explain what water is to a fish, the fish doesn't care. The fish has no reason to understand water. So the fish would deny the existence of water. And I denied the existence of racism because I didn't have the experience of racism as a white man. If it's not happening to me, it's not happening. Another way to think about it is I was warm and dry and comfortable under the roof of my house, and Dominic's trying to tell me that it's raining. It's not raining on me, Dom. So it's not raining, Dom. And now, of course, I see the arrogance of that thinking. To deny his experience just because I didn't understand it, because I didn't have it. And then to claim that my perspective was the only valid one. What was interesting, though, is I didn't do this with any other topics. I didn't deny the existence of cancer before it took my dad, or drug addiction before it grabbed one of my family members. So what was it about racism that had me so invested in denying it? When that answer came to me, it was actually really simple. Why am I so compelled to deny this? What am I trying to prove? Who am I trying to protect inside this? What do I have to lose? Is it possible that I do have white privilege? And if so, what does that even mean? Does it mean that I am one of the bad guys, that I'm actually on the wrong team? Is there such a thing as a good racist? Or am I one of the other, dirty or clean? Is it possible that I'm not consciously racist, but I was produced by this racist machine? You know, there's a show called Blackish. So can I be racist-ish? Like, kind of racist, but not totally? Can I have worked really hard for all that I have, but have privilege that just isn't known to me? Can I have grown up with color-filled friends, but still be prejudiced in spite of it? Can I believe I have a colorless lens, but be blind to the pigments inside of it? Can I go from colorblind to color kind and lean into the ignorance at first sight of it? Can I be tempted by the sweet nectar of a familiar fruit? And have the courage to not take a bite of it? Can I be racist but it not be my fault? Can I be white but it not mean I'm guilty? Can I speak up but avoid the assault? Can I be a part of the problem and still be a part of the solution? So the idea that all white people are racist was like a character attack on me. Because if racist equals bad and white equals racist and I equal white, then I equal bad. It was as simple as that. That's what I was trying to protect against. I didn't want to admit that I was a bad person. So the second distinction I want to give you is the separation between entity and identity. When Dominic said I was produced by this racist machine, it allowed me to pull my ego out of the problem and retain the idea that I have an identity as a good person inside of an entity of a bad system. And then I didn't have this compulsion to try to defend my character in conversations that weren't about my goodness. I mean, my goodness, bless my heart. But the third distinction was the most powerful and profound for me. It's this separation from biology and ideology. You see, all these racial atrocities that we have in our history, they didn't happen because of the perpetrator's white biology. They happened because the perpetrators were committed to their white ideology that says they're better than everybody else. They were superior to everybody else. And in their minds, that justified all the savagery that they committed. So this kind of white has absolutely nothing to do with ethnicity. It's actually based on a supremacy philosophy that actually didn't even show up, according to historians, till about the early 1600s. That was the first time that people said, we are white and therefore righteous. Which means anybody who's not white is impure, ungodly, They deserve or might even enjoy the treatment that we're giving them. They're like animals that don't have pain. And they believed it. Now, if you might think that the roots of that thinking are not alive, there was a study published by the National Academy of Sciences. They were looking at the racial disparity in pain prescriptions in the medical community. And they found that 50% of white medical students and residents, out of hundreds, actually believed that the nerve endings are different in black people. And black people feel less pain than white people. And you guys, this wasn't centuries ago. This wasn't generations ago. This was 2016. It's in the water. It's just invisible to so many of us. So the distinction between biology and ideology allowed me to have pride in my biology of European descent and all the ancestral roots that I have and this color skin that holds my bones and organs together, but denounce the ideology of supremacy and power. And if you don't agree with that ideology, break up with it. In fact, I did one better. Now, I went to school in the 80s and 90s, and if any of you did also, a breakup letter is not legit and official unless it's like handwritten on lined paper, right? This is legit. Dear racism, a breakup letter from a white man. You've been manipulating me from the beginning, but this is where our relationship ends. In my blindness, I couldn't see that you were getting me to defend against the challenges of the people whose inquiries I dismissed. Their accusations that I'm a racist had me ready to swing a fist. But when I opened up my eyes and ears and heart, I saw the twist. The greatest trick you ever pulled on me is convincing me you don't exist. I became a loyal recruit for you. I diverted the pursuit for you. While you laid low in the shadows, I stood tall in the light and refuted you. Without knowing it, I deflected, misdirected, and concluded you were dead. Over, a thing of the past, buried in the ills of history. But remember the Scooby villain? When they take off the mask, it reveals the mystery. It was the dude that no one suspected. His innocence was so convincible, and he knew hiding in plain sight can make something visible become so missable. So I believed what you wrote in my textbooks. In fact, I aced all of your tests. I believed Columbus discovered America like the classic rhyme suggests, but how do you discover a land with people on it? I mean, what was the story? That they were just guests? And because you thought it was India, we're going to call them India? Never mind, I digress. I believed the cowboys were the good guys on their horses I wanted to ride in my Halloween costume. I'll kill those savage Indians with their dirty eyes. The subtle seeds that white is right and dark is wrong were planted inside. It was indoctrination. You had me playing make-believe with genocide. You mostly taught me about two black leaders, Malcolm X and MLK. You said they both were powerful but led their people in different ways. One preached for peace and turning cheeks from the other. Violence was advocated. But what's your embedded message underneath, since both were assassinated? Could it be the way to be protected is to never cause disruption, make sure the leaders are reelected, disguise all their corruption? You sold half-truths and outright lies with confidence and no apology. Turns out you weren't teaching me history, you were teaching me white mythology. Where whoever's holding the pen gets to write the stories like they were wishing them, and most of the truthful pages of what really happened, well, your school books are missing them. Like the fact that so many of our founding fathers had no problem with slavery. Like the fact that so many of the people you slaughtered were killed for expressing their bravery. Like the fact that the laws politicians have written on top of that hill that you sent them to can be fair on the surface, but applied in a prejudiced way to uphold what you meant them to. Or like the fact that slavery is taught as the history of black people instead of the history of white people. Well, I've been doing my own research, and it turns out if you dissect the obscenity, white's not even a race or ethnicity. It's actually just an identity of arrogance and superiority based on being a majority. But let me ask, who was the original minority on a continent you invaded? You needed a brand new system on which people's value could be rated, so you chose color because it was easy and effective for people to be persuaded. An illusion of superiority, delusion of false priority, collusion of fake seniority to claim authority categorically. Man, get out of here with that bullshit. Keep quiet, you said. Don't challenge me. Stop asking me to defend it. It's easier to blindly follow and just keep trying to pretend it comes straight from the Word of God or whatever pulpit's trying to preach it, that heaven is the ultimate landing place and being righteous is how to reach it. Righteous. Your subtle construct that dark is evil and white is good, that dark people are therefore dangerous, and that everybody should think, perceive, behave like us, because after all, we set the standard for everyone else to be compared to, and should any of the others dare to claim validity in their different experiences, you'll react like we've been slandered. But the truth is, you think there's only one position at the top. So if someone gains, someone loses. If someone rises, someone falls. That's a scarcity mentality where you believe there's not enough room for all. And when people just merely stand up for themselves, it feels like aggression to you because across the board equality, well, that would be like oppression to you. In truth, I've grown to pity you. I no longer despise you. I have a feeling the number of letters like this you have coming is going to surprise you. I won't speak for anyone else. I'll let them do their talking. But the spell you had me under is over. So you stay here while I keep walking. I don't want to be associated anymore with your recognizable images. So let's just call it what it is. You and I got irreconcilable differences. I don't want to stay friends. It's over. We're through. And let me be clear. It's not me. It's you. Sincerely, Sean. What Dominic did for me that was extremely important is that instead of calling me out, he called me in. Which is what we need in these conversations. We need compassion and curiosity. We need to ask questions. We need to open conversations instead of stop trying to end them. And with the three distinctions that I've shared, and heart-to-heart communication, we can actually have forward-moving, conscious conversations that can unite us instead of further divide us. So if you've been inspired by anything I said today, and you feel moved to do so, I would be honored to read your breakup letter to racism.